Snowy Penthouse GRTV Sky High and a motherfucker. Right, so I want to break down a whole bunch of stuff, extremist stuff on either from the left side and the right side, politically speaking, and I just show you guys this fun sign that I created expressly for the Hawaii community environment, because it does include some pidgin English, if you will. And I'm actually right next to the exotic car dealership, so you got all your nice car brands here, and want to be explaining this sign here. So check out the sign. Sign says, "Need the police." Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. That was cool. The sign says, "Need the police," and then once flipped, you can see it says, "Convict stay released." Yay! And the reason it says that is because in Hawaii there's a collection of convicts that are, released due to the COVID issue. Their defense lawyers and whatnot are trying to, yay! They're trying to provide just reasons to release them. I don't see why they couldn't have just separated them. Apparently the prison system's crowded. So maybe it's overcrowded with, like, one thing I've been reviewing, there's something called The New Jim Crow. It's a book that details some of the issues regarding ongoing racism towards blacks and so white supremacy. And I admit that's happening. And I also admit that it's definitely because of poverty, and they call it broken window policing, where the police just do it. They try to get people on minor charges so it doesn't turn into too major. And the sign's a little controversial if just one side, but once you see both sides, I think people get more assured. But for now, I'm just gonna go with the guaranteed the guaranteed, like, no controversy sign, and just hide this underneath here while I'm completing trying to complete the show. So, oh, and by the way, there's some nice buildings coming up here. Like, the Honolulu's skyline is looking great, guys. We have lots of places for everyone around the world to live and come, and it's just a nice, peaceful place to live. No dangerous riots or anything. There was some cool protesting, Black Lives Movement, Matter, all of that type. So I want to get into that, and a little analysis of that. So where I start off with is it's all about responsibility and not being a victim. You're not claiming yourself to be a victim, because even if you're in a situation where you're legitimately a victim, by the general communal agreement, the problem is I'll just speak for myself, for example. Like, I used to do some questionable activities in my past. Namely, I was I prostituted myself towards gay men, and there's a complicated rationale behind why I did it. But the bottom line is, I considered myself a victim and thought that all these guys, because they have money, blah, 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 blah. And I'm the victim. But the reality, what I've found, is the prostitute paradox is that, the prostitute paradox entails that you don't love somebody that you seduce. You don't pay money for somebody you respect, or seduce them with your money or body. And I was essentially seducing perhaps certain older men with my body, but I made discoveries. I realized that the reason I was doing it was primarily because I had labeled people my authority. People such as there's the 5-0, people such as the who did I label? Like, people such as mother and father, and that created dramas for me internally, because I didn't like the idea, like, at a subconscious level, of of people being an authority upon me. And so the point being, don't be a victim. Find out how to be responsible for the situation. Same thing with 5-0 rolling, 5-0 rolling. All right. Don't say that, these old guys are going to the Philippines or some third world country and using their money as seducing these poor people. First of all, I'm guessing that a lot of these women like the opportunity because it's so financially bad to be a prostitute in order to, have some income. And I also feel that, even if the older, in theory, which they're not, wiser, loving, which they're not, because they say, oh, I love this woman who's half my or a third of my age. Like, it's not love. What that is, okay, I'll tell you what that is. That is people hating the idea of a woman being an authority over them throughout their life, and they take it out they act upon that subconscious anger, and they by disrespecting women by saying, oh, it's love. Well, no, it's not love. It's actually a business arrangement. But fuck it, people do as they may. I'm not gonna say. I'm just illustrating things so people can at least decide and think about things. Besides just it being like a mindless existence. And then another example of irresponsible behavior in this current day and age context is saying that white people or the system or the government or unfair policies or all of this laundry list of stuff is the main responsible factor for black people having suffering and bad experiences, and it's still open to input and examining the situation. Like, I've had great experiences with black people. For me, it's been like 9 out of 10 people of every race are good. So like, or 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 people are problematic. But it's specifically if the goal, these protesters are saying, oh, F the police. The police, generally speaking, protect people. There are the exceptional corrupt police, and I don't think that there's a necessary correlation between the racist police officers, and I think some of them just abuse their power, but what I will say is that, these people are in the protest and like F the police, or they're like all, stuff like that, like the police are pigs, and then they get surprised when they instigate the police, and then the police mistreat them. Like, who's gonna solve the black problem? If it is a problem at all, I'm assuming it is that there's some violence and different gang violence and that type of stuff. I'm assuming that's a reality. Like, if you look at recent statistics, you see that, you see the disparity, and I'm like, people misconstrue me as a racist for saying that, but we have to have some understanding and concept of the facts. And the way argument works is you have to agree upon the facts, or some particular facts, and then argue and debate based upon that, and then further express your opinion, your subjective opinions on those facts. So we first have to agree upon the facts, but more importantly, it's about taking responsibility. If you say, even if you're completely right, that the government or people at large, or white people historically and perhaps currently are the main reason for blacks being held down, then maybe what you're doing is you're giving them all your power by saying they're responsible, not me. So, take responsibility. There are many ways to do that. Many people, and black people, of course, already do that. But specifically speaking, the way to take responsibility It's actually a pretty nice building. It's one of the new buildings in the area. It's called the Symphony. Well, the main area to take responsibility is say that I can do something about it, and don't hope or wish anyone else will do something about it. There is no hoping or wishing in the world of science. It's experimentation, figure things out, look at the facts, and then go from there. And don't get too attached to it, especially if you're like maybe black and have experienced racism and that. Like, give people a reason for them not to be racist. Like, say, for example, I think people have a right to be racist. Like, they just don't have a right to like express it overtly. Say, I respect your racism, I'm sorry. It's very likely that people are, you know, maybe I would say half of people who are all racist right now are probably racist because they've had bad experiences with members of another race. So just give them good reasons to not be racist, and don't start the basis of your argument by saying like, you know, Black Lives Matter, stay in your own lane, you're racist, because that only perpetuates the emotional stuff and instead of the factual scientific stuff, and it doesn't actually achieve or execute your objective of reducing racism. Like, if that's your goal, you know, ask a racist person, hey, well, you know, why are you racist? I want to hear you out. People change once they get trust and once they felt heard. Not when somebody just says, you're a racist. And it doesn't matter if it's true. What matters is diplomacy and taking responsibility for the situation. And so thanks for considering. Again, click the link below. New Jim Crow, interesting stuff. Friend me on Facebook if you're not. I've got a great dialogue going there, you know, posts and links and little debates going on. And thanks so much for joining me. Also, I have a big surprise coming up. Big surprise. It's going to be a celebration. Keep it a secret until it's released. But thanks for tuning in. Aloha.